Commander Vrath started visiting Facility 12 every day after that. Before he came once a week, maybe twice. Now he appeared every morning, walking through the assembly lines with his guards. His eyes always found Hana, always watched her work, always waiting for her to make a mistake. He gave her the worst jobs: cleaning chemical waste, sorting toxic components without proper protection, heavy lifting that left her arms burning and back aching, tasks designed to break her body and spirit. But Hana did them all without complaining. She would not give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. Taemin begged her to apologize, to bow her head and ask for forgiveness. "Just say you're sorry," he pleaded one night in their tiny shared apartment. "Tell him you were wrong. Maybe he'll leave you alone." But Hana knew better. Predators didn't lose interest when prey showed weakness. They attacked harder. Vrath was a predator and he had marked her as his prey. The only question was when he would strike. 3 weeks after the break room incident, something changed. Taemin came home late looking nervous. He checked their apartment carefully, looking for listening devices. The Vraxians monitored everything, but some old apartments had blind spots. Theirs was one of them, probably because it was so small and unimportant. "I met someone today," Taemin whispered. "Someone from the Resistance." Hana's heart jumped. The Resistance was dangerous to even think about. The Vraxians had spies everywhere. Anyone caught helping rebels disappeared forever. "Don't tell me this," Hana said. "If I don't know, I can't tell them if they interrogate me." "You need to hear this," Taemin insisted. "They asked about you. They know what happened with Vrath. They want to meet you." "Why?" "They have a scientist, someone who's been studying the Vraxians. They think they found something important." Against her better judgment, Hana agreed to meet them. 3 days later, Taemin took her through a series of tunnels beneath the old subway system. The Vraxians had shut down most public transportation, claiming humans didn't need to travel. But the tunnels remained dark and forgotten. They entered a hidden room where 5 people waited. Most of them Hana didn't know. But one face was familiar. Jiwoo had been a researcher at a university before the invasion. Hana had met her once at a charity event years ago. Now Jiwoo looked thin and tired, but her eyes burned with intensity. "Thank you for coming," Jiwoo said, shaking Hana's hand. "I know this is dangerous, but what I have to tell you might change everything." She pulled out a tablet, one of the old human models that still worked. On the screen were diagrams and charts that meant nothing to Hana. "I've been studying Vraxian biology for 5 years, Jiwoo explained. "At first I was just curious. Then I became obsessed. They seem invincible, but nothing in nature is perfect. Everything has a weakness, and you found theirs?" Hana asked, not daring to hope. "Maybe." Jiwoo pulled up an image of Vraxian crystalline skin. "Their bodies are incredible. The crystal structure is stronger than steel. It distributes impact force across their entire body. That's why our weapons don't work. Bullets, blades, even explosives, the energy just spreads out and dissipates. So how do we hurt them?" "Physics," Jiwoo said with a small smile. "Everything that vibrates has a resonance frequency. The right frequency can shatter crystal. We learned this thousands of years ago. Opera singers breaking wine glasses, engineers destroying bridges by accident. The Vraxian skin is crystal, which means it has a resonance point." She pulled up more diagrams. "I've calculated it. If someone could strike at exactly the right angle, with exactly the right force at exactly the right point on their body, the resonance would shatter their internal structure. Not just the skin, everything. Their organs, their neural pathways, everything." Hana stared at the screen. "That's impossible. How could anyone be that precise?" "That's the problem," Jiwoo admitted. "A machine might do it, but we don't have the technology. And the Vraxians would see any weapon coming. It would need to be a person. Someone with perfect control. Someone who understands combat at a level most humans never reach." Everyone in the room looked at Hana. "You were an Olympic champion," Jiwoo said quietly. "You trained your whole life for precision and power. If anyone could do this, it's you." Hana felt cold. "You want me to fight a Vraxian? With my bare hands?" "I want you to have the option," Jiwoo corrected. "I can teach you the strike. The exact angle, the exact point. You'd need to practice, to train. It might not even work, but it's the only chance we have." Hana thought about her father, about Mr. Park struggling with the crate, about every human who suffered under Vraxian rule, about Vrath's cruel smile. "Show me," she said. For the next 2 months, Hana lived 2 lives. During the day, she worked in the facility and during Vrath's games and torments. At night, she trained in the tunnels. Jiwoo had set up equipment to measure force and angle. Hana practiced the strike thousands of times. A spinning back kick, her whole body rotating, every muscle working together. The target was a specific point on the sternum, where the crystalline structure would be most vulnerable. It was the hardest thing she had ever done. Harder than Olympic training. 1 degree off and the strike would fail. Too much force in the wrong direction, and it would scatter harmlessly. Not enough force and nothing would happen. Taemin watched her train, his face worried. Even if you can do it perfectly, you'd only get one chance. If you fail, Wrath will kill you. Maybe all of us. I know, Hana said, practicing the kick again. The impact pad showed her measurements. Still not quite right, and even if you succeed, what then? You kill one Vraxian. There are thousands of them. One is a start. Hana's foot connected again. The measurements improved, but she knew Taemin was right. This wasn't a plan for victory. It was an act of defiance. Maybe a suicide. But humans had been dying in silence for 15 years. At least this would be a death that meant something. Wrath seemed to sense something changing. He increased his visits. His torments became more personal. He learned details about Hana's past and used them as weapons. He brought up her Olympic career, mocking her accomplishments. He talked about her father's death, describing it in detail that suggested he had been there. Your father died begging, Wrath said one day, standing over Hana as she scrubbed chemical stains from the floor. He cried like a child. So much for human courage. Hana didn't respond. She kept scrubbing, kept her face blank. But inside, rage built like pressure in a sealed container. Sooner or later, something would break. One morning, Wrath announced something new, a festival. The Vraxians would host competitions where humans would perform physical challenges for alien entertainment. It was mandatory. Everyone in the facility would participate or face punishment. Hana felt cold certainty settle in her stomach. This was it. This was Wrath's endgame. He would humiliate her in front of everyone. Show the other humans what happened to those who showed spirit. That night, she trained harder than ever. Jiwoo watched her measurements. You're ready, Jiwoo said finally. The strike is perfect. But Hana, you need a clear opportunity. You need him to let his guard down. I know. Hana wiped sweat from her face. I'll figure something out. She didn't know how yet, but she knew the moment was coming. Wrath's arrogance was his weakness. He believed humans were beneath him. He believed nothing they did could hurt him. That belief would be his destruction. Hana went home that night and couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling of her tiny apartment, listening to Taemin's breathing in the next room. She thought about what might happen. Best case, she succeeded and was killed immediately after. Worst case, she failed and was tortured to death while Taemin and the others watched. There was no scenario where she survived, but there was a scenario where something changed. Where humans stopped accepting their fate. Where one person stood up and reminded everyone that they were not slaves by nature. Hana closed her eyes. In her mind, she practiced the strike again. The spin, the rotation, the angle, the force-perfect precision, perfect power. One chance to change everything, she would be ready. The metal floor was cold beneath Hana's knees as she worked on the assembly line. Her hands moved quickly, connecting wires to circuit boards that would become part of some alien machine she would never understand. Around her, dozens of other humans did the same work. Nobody spoke. Speaking slowed down production, and slow production meant punishment. Hana had been doing this job for 3 years now. Before the Vraxians came, she had been someone. An Olympic athlete, a martial artist who traveled the world and made her family proud. Now she was worker number 847 in Facility 12 of the Seoul District. The aliens had taken everything from humanity except their ability to work. The Vraxians had arrived 15 years ago in massive ships that blocked out the sun. They spoke of peace and protection. They said humans needed guidance to join the galactic community. Within a year, every government on Earth had surrendered. The aliens were too strong, too advanced. Fighting them seemed impossible. At first, things seemed okay. The Vraxians shared some technology. They built new facilities. They promised humanity a bright future among the stars. But promises turned to rules and rules turned to chains. Humans became workers, servants, entertainment for their alien masters. Combat sports were banned. Weapons were confiscated. Any resistance was crushed brutally. Hana glanced across the assembly line at her brother. Taemin was younger by 4 years, but he looked older now. The work had aged him. Dark circles lived permanently under his eyes. His hands shook slightly as he worked, a tremor from an old injury that never healed properly. The Vraxians didn't believe in giving humans medical care for minor problems. A loud buzzing sound echoed through the facility. Break time. The workers stood slowly, their bodies stiff from hours of sitting. They had 20 minutes to eat, use the bathroom, and return. Hana walked with Timon to the break area, a gray room with metal benches and a water dispenser. "You were staring again," Timon whispered as they sat down. He handed her a nutrition bar, the bland food that the Vraxians provided twice a day. "Was I?" Hana unwrapped the bar slowly. "At the guards. You keep watching them like you're studying them." Timon's voice was worried. "That's dangerous, Hana. If they notice, I'm just tired," she lied. But Timon was right. She did study them. She studied everything about the Vraxians. How they moved, how they stood, where they looked strong and where they might be weak. Old habits died hard, and Hana had spent her whole life learning to read opponents. The Vraxians were terrifying creatures. They stood 8 feet tall with skin that looked like purple crystal. Light reflected off their bodies in strange ways. They were incredibly strong, able to lift objects that would require machinery for humans. Their technology made them nearly invincible. Energy weapons, advanced armor, ships that could destroy cities. Humanity had nothing that could hurt them, but Hana watched anyway. She couldn't help it. The break room door slammed open. Everyone froze. Commander Vrath entered with 2 guards behind him. The Vraxian commander was even larger than most of his kind, nearly 9 feet tall. His crystalline skin was darker than others, almost black-purple. He wore the marks of high rank on his uniform. His face, if it could be called that, had no expression humans could read, but his voice dripped with cruelty. "Workers," Vrath said, the word sounding like an insult. "I have come to remind you of your purpose. You exist to serve. You exist to build. You exist because we allow it." The humans kept their eyes down. This was survival. "Don't look up. Don't react. Don't give them a reason to notice you." Vrath walked slowly between the tables. His heavy footsteps echoed. He stopped next to an old man named Mr. Park. The elderly worker had been a teacher before the Vraxians came. Now his hands shook with age as he tried to eat his nutrition bar. "You," Vrath said, pointing at Mr. Park. "Stand." The old man stood slowly, his legs weak. Hana felt her jaw clench. She knew what was coming. Vrath did this often. He picked someone weak and made an example of them. It was his favorite entertainment. "Pick up that container," Vrath ordered, pointing to a metal supply crate in the corner. The crate was designed for machinery to move, not people. It probably weighed 200 pounds. Mr. Park walked to the crate. He bent down and tried to lift it. The container barely moved. He tried again, his face turning red with effort. It was impossible. Everyone knew it was impossible. That was the point, pathetic, Vrath laughed. "This is humanity. Weak, useless. You should be grateful we let you live." Hana's hands were fists under the table. Timon put a hand on her arm, squeezing in warning. Don't do anything. Don't be stupid." But Hana had spent 3 years watching people suffer. 3 years swallowing rage. 3 years pretending to be broken. She thought of her father, who had died in Vraxian custody after he organized a protest. She thought of every humiliation, every injustice, every moment of powerlessness. She stood up. "He's old," Hana said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "The crate is too heavy. It's not a fair test of strength." The break room went silent. Even the other guards seemed surprised. Humans didn't speak back. They certainly didn't contradict Commander Vrath. Vrath turned slowly. His alien eyes focused on Hana. She felt like an insect under a magnifying glass. He walked toward her, each step deliberate. He stopped inches away, towering over her. "Fair?" Vrath's voice was amused. "You speak to me of fair? Did I ask for your opinion, Worker 847? He knew her number. That was bad. That meant he had noticed her before. "No, Commander," Hana said, forcing herself to keep her voice level. "But I can move the crate. Let me do it instead of him." Vrath tilted his head, studying her. Then he laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Interesting. You have spirit. I like that. It will be fun to break it," he gestured to his guards. "Let her try. I want to see this human warrior struggle." Warrior. So he knew about her past too. That was very bad. Hana walked to the crate. She could feel every eye on her. Timon looked terrified. The other workers seemed caught between hope and horror. She bent down and gripped the handles. The crate was heavy, but Hana had spent years building strength. Even with limited food and hard work, she kept her muscles as strong as she could. She lifted with her legs using proper form, and the crate rose from the ground. She carried it across the room and set it down gently. She had done the impossible. She had obeyed and succeeded. Vrath's amusement vanished. He didn't like being proven wrong, even in small ways. "Lucky," he said coldly. "Next time, worker 847, keep your mouth shut. I would hate for something unfortunate to happen to your brother." He left, his guards following. The moment the door closed, Taemin grabbed Hana's arm. "Are you insane?" he hissed. "You just made yourself his target." Hana looked at her hands. They were shaking now, adrenaline finally hitting her. "I know," she whispered. "I couldn't help it." But something had changed in that moment. For just a few seconds she had stood up. She had acted instead of endured. It felt dangerous and terrifying. It also felt like waking up after a long sleep. Around the break room, other workers looked at her differently now. Not with admiration exactly, more like recognition. The recognition that not everyone was completely broken yet. Hana didn't know it then, but she had just taken the first step toward something much bigger. Something that would change everything. The brake buzzer sounded. Everyone returned to their stations. The assembly line started moving again. But something was different now. A small spark had been lit in a very dark place, and sparks given time and fuel can become fires. The festival began at dawn. The Vraxians had transformed the facility courtyard into an arena. Massive lights flooded the space with harsh white glare. Viewing platforms rose on all sides where Vraxian officers and soldiers could watch. This wasn't entertainment for them. It was a reminder, a show of dominance. All workers from Facility 12 stood in lines waiting. Hana counted roughly 200 humans. Most looked terrified. Some looked resigned. A few looked angry. Next to her, Taemin shifted nervously from foot to foot. "Maybe it won't be that bad," he whispered, not believing his own words. Hana said nothing. She watched the Vraxians gather on their platforms. Vrath stood at the center, larger and darker than the others. Even from a distance, she could feel his attention on her. A Vraxian official stepped forward, speaking through a translator device. "Today you will compete in tests of strength and skill. The winners will receive extra rations. The losers will learn humility. All will remember their place." The first challenge was simple: carry heavy containers across the arena. The containers were filled with something dense, probably metal parts. They were designed for machinery to move, not people. But humans had no choice. A woman named Su-Jin went first. She was young, maybe 22, and worked as an engineer. She managed to lift the container but collapsed halfway across the arena. The Vraxians laughed. Guards dragged her back to the line. She was crying, her shoulder clearly injured from the fall. More humans tried. Most failed. Those who succeeded barely made it, their bodies shaking with effort. The Vraxians found it hilarious. They made jokes in their alien language, pointing and laughing at human weakness. Dong-hyun went next. He had been a soldier before the invasion, and his military training showed. He carried the container all the way across, setting it down with control. The Vraxians booed. They didn't like it when humans succeeded. Then it was Hana's turn. She walked to the container, feeling hundreds of eyes on her. Human and alien both, she bent her knees, gripped the handles properly, and lifted with her legs. The weight was enormous, but she had practiced with worse. She walked across the arena steadily, keeping her breathing even. She set the container down gently. Silence. Even the Vraxians didn't laugh this time. Vrath stood from his seat. "Interesting," his voice boomed across the arena. "The little warrior still has some strength. Let's see how much." The next challenges grew harder. Climbing obstacles designed for larger bodies, solving puzzles with missing pieces, running races in heavy boots that didn't fit. Each challenge was designed to be impossible or humiliating or both. Hana completed every one. Not perfectly, but she completed them. Other humans began to watch her with something like hope. The Vraxians watched with growing irritation. Between challenges, Vrath descended from his platform. He walked directly to Hana, his massive form blocking out the sun. His guards formed a circle around them. "You're making quite a show," Vrath said, his voice quiet but dangerous. "Did you think I would be impressed? Did you think this would save you?" "I'm just following orders, Commander." Hana replied, keeping her eyes down. Liar. Vrath leaned closer. I have researched you, Worker 847. Hana Kim, Olympic gold medalist, martial arts champion. You represented your country before it was properly conquered. Tell me, do you miss those days? When humans thought they mattered? Hana's jaw clenched, but she stayed silent. I know what you are, Vrath continued. A fighter. A warrior. You want to resist. You want to be special. But you are nothing. Your skills are worthless. Your pride is pathetic, and I will prove it today. He straightened up, addressing the arena. New challenge. The warrior will fight. The crowd murmured. Humans looked confused and worried. The Vraxians leaned forward with interest. Fight what? Hana asked, finally meeting Vrath's eyes. Fight for your life. Vrath smiled, a horrible expression on his alien face. You will face combat robots. Old training drones we use for our soldiers. If you survive, you win. If you don't, he shrugged. Well, at least you'll die doing what you love. 3 robots rolled into the arena. They were roughly human-sized, with multiple arms ending in padded clubs. Training equipment, but still dangerous. They could break bones easily. Hana felt adrenaline spike through her system. This was a trap. Vrath wanted her to use her combat skills. He wanted to see what she could do. Either she would die or she would reveal her abilities. Either way, he won. But she had no choice. The robots activated with a mechanical whir. They moved fast, surrounding her. The first strike came at her head. Hana ducked under it, muscle memory taking over. The second robot swung at her ribs. She blocked, feeling the impact jar her arms. The third came from behind. Years of training saved her. She spun, deflecting the blow, then attacked, targeting the robot's joints. Her strikes were precise, disabling one robot quickly. The crowd gasped. The second robot came at her faster now. She dodged, waited for an opening, then struck. Another robot down. The third robot was more cautious. It circled her, looking for weakness. Hana's breath came hard now. She was tired, hungry, and the heavy work had drained her. But she couldn't stop. She feinted left, then struck right. The robot fell. The arena erupted. Humans cheered, the sound surprising them with its own volume. They hadn't cheered for anything in years. The Vraxians shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't supposed to happen. Vrath's face was unreadable, but his body language showed rage. He descended into the arena himself, walking slowly toward Hana. The cheering died instantly. Everyone knew what was coming. Impressive, Vrath said coldly. You defeated training robots designed for Vraxian children. Should I be afraid? He circled her like a predator. You think you're strong. You think your little combat training makes you dangerous. But you are an insect. A clever insect, perhaps, but still beneath notice. Hana said nothing. Her heart pounded. Every instinct screamed at her to fight or run. But she stood still, waiting. You know what I think? Vrath continued. I think you need a reminder of reality. I think you need to understand that your strength is worthless. That everything you are is meaningless. He turned to the crowd and gestured. Bring me the brother. Horror flooded through Hana. No. Guards grabbed Taimin from the line. He struggled but was helpless against their strength. They dragged him into the arena and threw him down next to Hana. He looked up at her, eyes wide with fear. Your brother is weak, Vrath said conversationally. Weaker than you. He never won medals or glory. He's just another worthless human. Watch. Vrath's hand moved faster than Hana could track. He struck Taimin across the face with casual force. The sound was horrible. Taimin flew backward, landing hard on the ground. Blood poured from his nose and mouth. Hana moved without thinking, dropping to her brother's side. Taimin was conscious but dazed. He tried to speak but couldn't form words. Rage filled Hana like fire. Pure white-hot rage that made her vision blur. Vrath laughed. There it is. The anger. The helplessness. This is what you are, little warrior. Powerless. What will you do about it? Nothing, because you can't. Hana stood slowly. Every lesson from Jiwoo flashed through her mind. The angle. The force. The precise point. She looked at Vrath's chest, seeing exactly where to strike. She could do it right now. End this monster. But guards surrounded them. If she tried and failed, they would kill Taimin. Kill everyone here. She needed the right moment. The right opportunity. She needed Vrath to let his guard down. Hana forced herself to speak calmly, despite the rage shaking her body. You're right, Commander. Vrath tilted his head, surprised. What? You're right, Hana repeated. I can't do anything to you. You're too strong, too powerful. Humans are weak. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. But you've never actually tested it, have you? Tested what? Your strength against mine. You just assume, you're superior. So you've never actually faced a human in real combat. You don't need to. Vrath laughed, but there was interest in his voice now. Are you challenging me? I'm saying you've never proven your superiority, Hana said, her voice steady. You just declare it. Any warrior who was truly confident would test themselves, would face their enemy directly. But maybe you're not confident. Maybe you're afraid. The arena went deadly silent. The Vraxians looked shocked. No human had ever called their commander a coward. Vrath's expression darkened. Careful, little warrior. One strike, Hana said. Let me hit you once. Anywhere I want. If I can hurt you, you let everyone here go free. If I can't, I'll never resist again. I'll be your perfect slave. It was insane, suicidal. But Hana saw Vrath's ego wrestling with his intelligence. He wanted to crush her. He wanted to prove his dominance in the most humiliating way possible. One strike, Vrath said slowly. With your full strength? Everything I have, Vrath's laugh echoed across the arena. Accepted. The arena fell into absolute silence. 200 humans held their breath. Dozens of Vraxian officers leaned forward on their platforms, eager to see this entertaining display of human foolishness. Guards formed a wider circle, giving them space. This was history happening, though most didn't know it yet. Vrath stepped back and spread his massive arms wide. His crystalline chest plate gleamed in the harsh arena lights. He stood like a statue, completely confident. Go ahead, little warrior. Strike me anywhere. Use all your training. Show me this human strength you're so proud of. The other Vraxian officers laughed. The sound was like breaking glass, sharp and cruel. They found this hilarious. A tiny human thinking she could hurt their commander. It was the funniest thing they had seen in years. Taemin tried to stand, blood still running from his broken nose. Hana, don't, he managed to say. His voice was thick with pain and fear. He'll kill you, but Hana wasn't listening. She was already in that mental space where only the fight existed. Everything else faded away. The crowd, the fear. Even her brother's voice became distant. All that remained was the target and the strike. She looked at Vrath's chest. The exact point Jiwoo had shown her glowed in her mind like a target. 3 inches below the center of his sternum, slightly left. That was where the crystalline structure was weakest, where the resonance frequency would travel through his entire body if the strike was perfect. Are you afraid? Vrath mocked. Having second thoughts? You can bow now, beg for mercy, and I might let you live. Hana didn't respond. She closed her eyes for just a moment. Took 3 deep breaths, in, out, in, out, in, out. Her heart rate slowed. Her mind cleared. This was just like competition, like the Olympics. Except this time she wasn't fighting for a medal. She was fighting for her species. She opened her eyes and moved into her stance, feet shoulder-width apart, weight balanced, hands ready. It was the same stance she had used 1,000 times before. The Vraxians didn't recognize it as dangerous. To them, it just looked like a human standing funny. But other humans saw it. Those who remembered the old world before the invasion. They recognized an Olympic champion preparing to perform. Some started to hope despite knowing hope was dangerous. Hana's mind ran through the calculations one final time. The angle, 47 degrees from horizontal. The rotation, full body spin for maximum torque. The contact point, heel of her foot, all force concentrated into minimum area. The force required every ounce of strength her body could generate. She thought about Earth, about gravity. Jiwoo had explained this part. Earth's gravity was stronger than most worlds in the galaxy. Humans evolved on a high-gravity planet. Their bones were denser. Their muscles were stronger. What seemed normal to humans was extraordinary by galactic standards. The Vraxians didn't know this. They had conquered 47 species, but none from high-gravity worlds. They had no immunity to what was coming. Hana thought of her father's face. The last time she saw him before the Vraxians took him away, he had told her to stay strong, to survive. She had survived. But survival wasn't enough anymore. She thought of every human who suffered, every person broken by alien cruelty, every child who would grow up as a slave if nothing changed. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about dignity, about proving that humans deserved respect not because they were strong, but because they refused to stay broken. Hit me then, Vrath laughed, spreading his arms even wider. I'm waiting. Those words would echo through history. The moment before everything changed, Hana moved. Her back foot pivoted. Her hips rotated. Her entire body became a weapon. Every muscle working in perfect coordination. The spin was textbook perfect. The kind of technique that took years to master. Her arms tucked close for maximum rotation speed. The world blurred around her. Time seemed to slow down. She could see Vrath's expression beginning to change. The mockery fading into something else. Confusion, maybe. Or the first hint of realization that something was wrong. Her leg extended at exactly the right moment. Every calculation Jiwoo had given her came together in this single instant. The angle was perfect. The rotation was maximum. The target point glowed in her mind. Her heel connected with Vrath's sternum. The sound was impossible to describe. It wasn't just an impact. It was a crystalline shattering that seemed to shake the air itself, like 1,000 wine glasses breaking at once, like ice cracking on a frozen lake. The sound echoed off the arena walls and seemed to go on forever. Hana felt the impact travel up her leg. Felt the moment when Vrath's crystalline structure gave way. It was like kicking through thin ice. Resistance, then sudden breakthrough, then nothing. She landed and spun away, her guard up ready for counterattack. But no counterattack came. Vrath stood frozen. His expression had changed completely. Mockery was gone. Confidence was gone. What replaced them was shock. Pure absolute shock, then pain. Cracks spread across his chest like spiderwebs. The crystalline surface that had been so beautiful now looked shattered. The cracks grew, spreading across his torso, up his neck, down his limbs. Inside his body, the resonance frequency was destroying everything. The crystal structure that gave him strength now became his weakness. Every internal organ, every neural pathway, all of it was shattering from the inside. Vrath tried to speak. His mouth opened, but only blood came out. Dark purple blood that looked black in the arena lights. He staggered backward, his massive body suddenly uncoordinated. His legs shook. His arms dropped to his sides. His breathing turned into a horrible wet sound. Gurgling. Choking. The cracks reached his face, spreading like lightning across his features. Then his legs gave out completely. Vrath, commander of the Asian sector, terror of humanity, fell to his knees. The impact shook the ground. He swayed there for a moment, looking almost confused, like he couldn't understand what was happening to his body. Then he fell forward onto his face. The arena was absolutely silent. Not a single sound, not a breath. Everyone, human and alien alike, stared at the fallen commander. Vrath lay motionless on the ground. His chest didn't rise. His body didn't move. The crystalline cracks covered every inch of him, making him look like a broken statue. Blood pooled beneath him, spreading slowly across the arena floor. He was paralyzed. Destroyed from the inside. His spine was severed. His organs were failing. His brain was dying. He would never stand again. Never walk. Never speak. Never hurt anyone again. Hana stood over him, her chest heaving. Her leg hurt from the impact, but she ignored it. She looked down at the monster who had tormented her. Her brother. Her people. The creature who thought humans were insects. You wanted to test human strength, she said quietly. Her voice steady despite her racing heart. You found it. 5 seconds of silence. 5 seconds that felt like hours. Then chaos erupted. The Vraxian guards rushed forward, weapons raised. But they hesitated. Their commander was down. Impossible. Nothing could hurt a Vraxian. But their commander was down. The humans started shouting. Some in triumph. Some in fear. Some in disbelief. Taman stumbled to his sister's side, grabbing her arm. What did you do? He whispered. But he was smiling. Despite the blood on his face, despite the danger, he was smiling. What I had to, Hana replied. The Vraxian officers on the platforms were screaming orders in their alien language. Alarms started blaring. More guards poured into the arena. But none of them approached Hana. They all kept their distance, staring at their fallen commander with something humans had never seen on Vraxian faces before. Fear. They were afraid of her. Afraid of what she represented. Afraid that if one human could do this, maybe others could too. Afraid that their entire empire was built on a lie. In that moment, standing over the broken body of her tormentor, Hana realized something. She wasn't just one person anymore. She was a symbol. She was proof that humans could fight back, could win. And across the world, in every facility with cameras, Every human who saw this moment felt the same thing. Hope. The guards finally surrounded them, weapons pointed. An officer shouted in broken English, "You die now! You all die!" But before anyone could act, something else happened. One of the facility workers, an old man named Mr. Park, stepped forward from the crowd. Then another human, then another. They formed a circle around Hana and Taemin, a human wall between the guards and their target. The Vraxians could kill them all, easily. But something had changed. The dynamic had shifted. For 15 years, humans had been passive, broken, safe to abuse. Not anymore. The standoff continued as alarms shrieked and Vrath's blood spread across the arena floor. Nobody knew what would happen next. But everyone knew that nothing would ever be the same. Commander Vrath lay on the ground, unable to move, unable to speak, barely able to breathe. The last thing he would ever remember clearly was his own voice, full of confidence and mockery, saying those final words. "Hit me then." The standoff lasted exactly 93 seconds. To the humans surrounding Hana, it felt like hours. To the Vraxian guards, it felt like their world was ending, because in a very real way it was. An officer finally made a decision. He barked orders in the alien language and the guards lowered their weapons slightly. Not completely, but enough to show they weren't going to massacre everyone immediately. They needed orders from someone higher up. Someone who could make sense of what just happened. Medical drones arrived and surrounded Vrath's body. They scanned him with blue lights making mechanical sounds. One of the Vraxian officers knelt beside the commander, checking his status. When he stood up, his crystalline face looked shaken. "Paralyzed," he said in English, the word sounding strange in his voice. "Complete neural pathway destruction. How is this possible?" Nobody answered. The humans stayed in their protective circle around Hana. The Vraxians kept their distance, still afraid. The air felt electric with tension. Then something unexpected happened. From the crowd of workers, a woman pushed forward. Jiwoo. She walked into the open space between humans and aliens, her hands raised to show she was unarmed. She looked terrified but determined. "I can explain," Jiwoo said loudly. "I'm a scientist. I know what happened here." A Vraxian officer turned to her. "You? A human? You know nothing." "I know everything," Jiwoo replied, her voice growing stronger. "I've been studying your biology for 5 years. I know why Commander Vrath fell, and I know why you should be afraid." The officer's crystalline face showed confusion, but he gestured for her to continue. Around them, more Vraxians gathered to listen. On the platforms, officers leaned forward. Everyone wanted to understand how their invincible commander had been defeated by a tiny human. Jiwoo pulled out her old tablet from her bag. Taemin had smuggled it into the arena somehow. She pulled up her diagrams and held them high for everyone to see. "Your species has crystalline biology," Jiwoo began. "It's beautiful, strong. It protects you from energy weapons and most conventional damage. But everything in physics has a weakness. Every structure that vibrates has a resonance frequency." She showed the diagrams to the nearest Vraxian. He looked confused but interested. "Your crystalline structure is perfect for defending against most threats," Jiwoo continued, "but not against kinetic impact at specific frequencies. If struck at exactly the right angle, with exactly the right force at exactly the right point, the resonance shatters your entire internal structure. Not just the surface, everything." The Vraxians were listening now, really listening. The concept clearly troubled them. "But that's impossible," the officer said. "The precision required, no weapon could achieve it." "You're right," Jiwoo agreed. "A weapon couldn't, but a human could." She pulled up more data. "You've conquered 47 species across the galaxy, but none of them were from high-gravity worlds. Earth has stronger gravity than most civilized planets. Humans evolved in conditions you would consider extreme. Our bones are denser. Our muscles are stronger. Our motor control is more precise. What seems normal to us is extraordinary by galactic standards." The Vraxian officer looked at Vrath's body, then back at Jiwoo. Understanding was starting to dawn on his face. "Humans are death world creatures," Jiwoo said simply. "We just didn't know it until now. And you didn't know it either. You thought our planet was harsh, but you never understood what that harshness created. You conquered us because you had better technology. But in close combat, without weapons, you're helpless against us." Another Vraxian spoke up. "This is one incident. One lucky strike, is it?" Jiwoo smiled, though the expression looked sad. The technique I taught Hana can be learned. I have the data right here. The exact angles, the exact force, the exact strike points. And now that we know it works, how long do you think before every human learns it? How long before your entire occupation force is vulnerable? Silence. The Vraxians looked at each other. The humans stood taller, realizing what Jiwoo was saying. They weren't helpless. They had never been helpless. They just didn't know how to fight back until now. The Vraxian officer's face hardened. You will give us that data. We will destroy it and execute anyone who knows it. Too late, Taemin called out from the crowd. He held up his own device. It's already transmitted. Every resistance cell on Earth has the data now. Every human who wants to learn can learn. You can't stop information from spreading. He was lying. The transmission hadn't happened yet. But the Vraxians didn't know that, and neither did most humans. The lie became truth in that moment because everyone believed it. The Vraxian officer raised his weapon, pointing it at Jiwoo. Then you all die. Every human in this facility. Every human who knows. And then what? Jiwoo asked calmly. You kill us. The data still spreads. You kill everyone on Earth. The other 47 species you conquered will hear about this. They'll learn that Vraxians can be defeated. Your empire will crumble. Is that really what you want? The officer hesitated. Other Vraxians were talking rapidly in their language, arguing. Humans couldn't understand the words, but the body language was clear. Panic, confusion, fear. Finally, the officer lowered his weapon. We need orders from the high command. Everyone stays here. No one moves. But moving was exactly what was happening, just not physically. In the crowd, humans with hidden devices were recording everything. The security cameras had captured Vrath's fall from multiple angles. Someone had already copied the footage to a portable drive. Within hours, it would spread across human resistance networks worldwide. Within a day, every human on Earth would see Commander Vrath laughing.
Hit me then.
And they would see him fall, see him break, see him fail to stand up. The guards tried to maintain order, but humans were talking excitedly now, whispering plans, making connections. Taemin moved through the crowd, quietly spreading information. Jiwoo's data was being copied to dozens of devices. The technique would spread whether the Vraxians liked it or not. In the center of it all, Hana sat down on the ground next to her brother. Her leg hurt badly now. The adrenaline was wearing off. She might have broken bones in her foot from the impact, but she didn't care. She looked at Vrath's motionless body being loaded onto a medical transport. You did it, Taemin said quietly, sitting beside her. His face was swollen and bruised, but he was grinning. You actually did it. We did it, Hana corrected. You, me, Jiwoo, everyone. One person couldn't change anything. But together, she didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Around them, humans were standing differently, standing taller, standing together. For 15 years, they had been broken individually. Now they were united by hope. 3 hours later, transports arrived from Vraxian High Command. Officers in impressive armor stepped out, clearly senior leadership. They assessed the situation, talked with their people, examined Vrath's body. The humans watched and waited. Finally, one of the high officers addressed the crowd. This facility is closed. All workers will be relocated. The events of today will be investigated fully. It sounded like business as usual, but humans heard the uncertainty in his voice. The fear. Over the next week, strange things happened. Vraxian patrols became less aggressive. Some facilities reduced their quotas. Guards maintained more distance from humans. It was subtle, but everyone noticed. The aliens were afraid now. Videos of Vrath's fall spread like fire. Humans watched it over and over, memorizing every moment. They watched Hana's perfect technique. They measured the angle, the rotation, the force. They practiced in secret, learning. The resistance movement swelled with new members. Not to fight yet, just to prepare. Jiwoo's data spread to every continent. Scientists studied it. Athletes practiced it. Soldiers memorized it. Within a month, thousands of humans knew exactly how to replicate what Hana had done. The Vraxians tried to control the information, but they were too late. You can't unpour water. You can't unring a bell. And you can't make people forget that their oppressors can bleed. Hana recovered from her injuries in a safe house provided by the resistance. Her foot was broken in 3 places, but human doctors fixed it. While she healed, people came to see her, to thank her, to ask questions. She answered them all patiently, showing them the technique, teaching them. "Do you think this will work?" a young man asked her one day. "Do you think we can really be free?" Hannah thought about Commander Vrath's face when he realized what was happening. The shock, the fear, the understanding that he had been wrong about everything. "I don't know," she answered honestly. "But we have something now we didn't have before." "What's that?" "A chance, and sometimes that's all anyone needs. A chance to fight. A chance to win. A chance to be free." The Vraxian Empire had ruled for 15 years, but empires built on fear crumble when the fear disappears, and humanity was no longer afraid. Commander Vrath never stood up again. He never walked, never spoke clearly, never recovered. He remained paralyzed in a medical facility, kept alive by machines, a living reminder that the invincible could fall. And across Earth, in every facility and street, humans whispered a new phrase. It started as mockery but became a promise, a challenge to their oppressors. "Hit me then." The revolution had begun.